our English news edition broadcast to you on Canal Algérie and in today's top stories. The President of the Republic allots $1 billion to help promote development projects in African countries and calls for settling conflicts without foreign interference in a message read out at the AU summit. Algeria categorically denies the alleged campaign of suspending visa issuing to French citizens, confirming that this process goes in a normal way. And a visit without visa to our viewers to Tahrir province, the venue of a tourist and sporting event, namely the North African Triathlon. Good evening and welcome back. First, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, decided to grant an amount of $1 billion to the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation for Solidarity and Development destined to African countries, and that according to a statement made during the proceedings of the African Union Summit held by the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa. More details with Melissa Kabash.
In order to establish long-lasting peace and permanent stability in the African continent while boosting the local development, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, decided to dedicate $1 billion to finance development projects in the African continent. Algeria is convinced that security and stability in Africa are linked to development. Therefore, the President of the Republic decided to inject an amount of $1 billion into the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation for Solidarity and Development, intended for financing development projects in African countries, in particular those with the objective of promoting development of our dear continent. The agency will begin the procedures for the execution of this strategic initiative in coordination with the African countries wishing to benefit from it. In his speech read out by Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdulrahman, the President of the Republic called for the implementation of Algeria's proposals to strengthen the mechanisms of the African Union. We reiterate our call to speed up the implementation of concrete proposals submitted by Algeria, starting with a new action plan for the African Union to fight against terrorism, included the 2023 action plan, draw up an African list of people involved of terrorist acts, including foreign terrorists. Finally, implement the draft African arrest warrant. The President of the Republic also recalled Algeria's support for the Sahrawi people and their just struggle within the framework of international legality, denouncing the desperate attempts which are hindering the last colony in Africa to gain their independence. We renew our support for the inalienable right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination. We are organizing a referendum in compliance with the international charters and resolutions ratified by the United Nations. It became necessary for our organization to fully assume its responsibility for this issue in our neighborhood. We are fully determined to push the voice of peace and national reconciliation in Mali. We have been working with our Malian brothers in order to remove the obstacles that may hinder the implementation of the peace agreement in Mali and the Algiers process. We also urge the Libyan parties to embark on the peaceful settlement without foreign interference by adopting dialogue to achieve a political solution that preserve the unity and sovereignty of Libya. It should be noted that our country is a candidate this year for the position of first Vice President of the African Union.
The Prime Minister Ayman bin Abdulrahman affirmed that Algeria has the necessary experience and capacities to help achieve the African economic complementarity, being a country without foreign debt, reiterating that Algeria would spare no effort to achieve this objective, whether within the African Union or in other fields for the benefit of the continent. On the sidelines of his participation in the summit, Algeria's Premier Ayman bin Abdurrahman received on Saturday in his residency in Addis Ababa Sheikh Shakhbout bin Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, member of the Council of Ministers, State Minister at the Emirati Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The meeting was an opportunity to review the prospects of the Algerian-Emirati relations and highlight the willingness of both countries to reinforce bilateral cooperation in the several sectors. In a different topic, Algeria denounced the fake campaign alleging a so-called decision of the Algerian authorities to suspend the issuance of tourist visas to French nationals. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs wishes to firmly deny this campaign of disinformation and indicates that the diplomatic and consular representations abroad provide continuous services and issuance in the most normal way the tourist visas to citizens of all countries, including the French people wishing to visit Algeria. The communique added that since the beginning of this year and as part of tourism promotion in Algeria, additional facilitations measures were exceptionally added so as to allow the issuance of visas upon the arrival of travelers on the national soil via airports and travel agencies for the benefit of the citizens from all around the world wishing to visit the 24 southern Algerian provinces for tourism purposes. In another development, the President of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, received the head of the parliamentary group of Arab Maghreb countries at the Jordanian parliament, Muhajim Hamad Hussein Sakur. The meeting tackled the Algerian-Jordanian relations and other Arab and regional issues. Still with the President of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, who equally received at the VIP lounge of the Houari Boumediene International Airport the President of the Kenyan Parliament. The meeting was also an opportunity to discuss the consolidation of parliamentary cooperation between the two countries. In another story, a Spanish humanitarian caravan headed for the Sahrawi refugee camps via Algeria. The caravan comprises 19 lorries, on board of which several humanitarian items in addition to ambulances offered by the NGO association Rivas Sahel. In another topic, the representatives of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission once again refuted the allegations of the Moroccan Makhzen regime on the alleged detour of the EU humanitarian aid to the Sahrawi refugee camps, stressing that the Commission has not yet found any evidence on this issue. And any evidence of irregularity is subject to a thorough verification, said Joseph Borrell in a written response to the Deputy Brice Hortefeux of the European Popular Party group as a response to a question on the subject. Abroad, the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip have been living under the Zionist blockade for more than 16 years, affecting negatively their social and economic life. The Zionist blockade also prevented the passage or entry of medical equipment to Gaza hospitals, which worsened the already agonizing situation, Ines Kalou reports.
More than 16 years and the Zionist entity blockade on the Gaza Strip continues. Medical equipment for cancer patients is considered prohibited and not allowed to enter Gaza hospitals. At the same time, many patients are prevented from going to the West Bank hospitals to receive the treatment due to what they call security claims.
Cancer patients are the most affected by the Zionist blockade, since the hospitals in Gaza Strip do not provide treatment services for cancer patients because of the entry prevention of many medical devices and medicines into the Gaza Strip by the occupation forces, and inflowing the process of treating cancer means a death sentence for these patients.
The occupier, who prevented the entry of medical equipment, also bans the entry of raw materials to factories or the export of products to the West Bank markets, which increased poverty and unemployment and the dependence of about 80% of Palestinians on humanitarian aid, according to a UN report.
The Zionist entity puts pressure on the Palestinian economy and undermines it in light of the government sector's decline from employment. Unemployment has risen in the Gaza Strip to about 47%, and in the youth sector it reaches 70%. A large part of the population in the Gaza Strip has become dependent on aid and suffers from poverty.
A situation that has become more tragic in Gaza markets, which reflects the extent of the Palestinians' inability to get their basic staples due to their low purchasing power.
Life has become more difficult, neither buying or selling in the Gaza markets. As you can see, we are subject to a slow death.
The Zionist blockade left no choice for the Palestinian people, but is trying to push them towards slow death, just as it is trying to disown its responsibility towards the Palestinian people who have been suffering from poverty, unemployment, and dire circumstances for 16 years.
To Syria now, where at least 5 people were killed and 15 others injured following an attack carried out by the Zionist entity in Syria, according to a provisional report. The strike came from the occupied Golan Heights, targeting several areas of Damascus and its surroundings. 14 days after the massive earthquake, Turkey decided on Sunday to stop the search operations, except in the most affected provinces, namely Karaman, Maras and Hatay. The earthquake that reached a magnitude of 7.8 completely destroyed the south of the country and Syria and resulted in the death of more than 40,000 people in Turkey, according to the latest official report. Sports now. USM Algiers secured a 1-1 draw with the Libyan side of Al Akhdar as part of the African Confederation Cup. Still with sports, but combined with tourism and the Tagit Triathlon, a mega sporting competition which witnessed the participation of several athletes from different countries. Story by Najah Diyar.
We are here in Tagit, one of the most beautiful spots in the Algerian desert, to attend one of the most spectacular Olympic discipline event, the Triathlon North Africa, in its 5th edition. In this 5th edition of the competition, I am so satisfied with the process. As always, I say the athletes and the participants' security and safety is the most important, especially after the swimming part in a lake at 11 degrees this year. We thank the authorities who provided everything needed. And as usual, the event was upgraded by the presence of several champions of the discipline. The adventure started with 1.9 kilometers swimming in the cold lake, and once out of the water, the participants head to the 82 kilometers of biking in the breathtaking landscapes. In the last activity of 21 kilometers running on the sand, Osama Hilal was the first to reach the finish line in 5 hours and 15 minutes. The competition was all excellent. Thank God we managed well our energy. This is the 3rd time that I participate in this great sporting event.
Really hard. I didn't expect it because we are from the middle of Europe. So we don't know desert. It's my first experience with the desert, with running in desert.
In this sporting event, eagerly awaited by the adventure lovers, athletes who love tourism find this event a very unique occasion to attend and enjoy both activities in the magnificent Algerian Sahara.
And with that, we wrap up our today's edition. Thank you for tuning in and goodbye.